Hello folks, if you're going to get yourself some models pretty soon, make sure you head over to Minimaker to see if they've got better alternatives first. An amazing service, and I'm currently eagerly awaiting my tanks that are going to arrive from Minimaker. I can't wait for them to get here. For the Exiled Blade that I'm building, it's going to be awesome. Take a look at their website and see if there's anything over there that you fancy. They do worldwide shipping for €10. Can't say fairer than that. Their sculpts are amazing, and if you use the promo code Northern Exile, you get yourself 10% off your order at checkout. Cannot say fairer than that, lads. Let's jump into that one. You're going to love it. Anyway, let's do some Hobby Nightmares, shall we? Right. I think I might do some footage here. Why not? Why not? We'll stick some on. There you go. Let's jump in, straight in, with... We're going with Liam. How's it going, Liam? I hope you're having a good day, and let's do it, shall we? Hi, North, he says. You can call me Liam. I am new to the hobby of tabletop wargaming, but mainly I play Warhammer 40k and Kill Team, with my main armies being Dark Angels and Grey Knights. See attached pictures for some of my models. Hooray! Oh, I do like model pictures. There's a Lionel Johnson here. Very nice. I like that. Let me put these on for you. You're a man of taste, and clearly you like Night in Space. I think Night in Space is going to be a bit of a theme today, to be honest with you. There are a few people who've written in with similar looking armies. Very nicely done, man. Very nicely painted. Thin them down. My friend, thin them down a little bit, but apart from that, very nicely done. Oh, a Lionel Johnson in the original colour scheme. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, cool. Let's move on to the rest of your story, shall we? However, I've been However, I've been jumping between hobbies and competitive games for a long time. My passion for competitive gaming started with Yu-Gi-Oh!, but my nightmare comes from the deep, dark recesses of the fighting game community. Specifically, Tekken 8. Dude, the fighting game video community are ruthless. Like, if you want to know what an actual skill-based hobby looks like, like, those guys are ruthless. You are good or you are not. You know, it is one of those things. It is cutthroat, man. I was a regular player from the end of Tekken 7 until about the end of the first season pass of Tekken 8, but between life and my recent discovery of 40k, I stepped away from my pursuit of esports fame. So, for some context, this takes place at arguably the largest fighting game tournament in the world, which just so happens to take place in my city. There is a big 3-day tournament where you play 4 to 6 matches a day. Okay, alright, this is pretty cool. I started the event with full of vigour, and with my wife there to support me. I had an amazing day 1, finishing 4-1, which meant I advanced to day 2, and I got to play on the live stream, which was an experience I'll never forget, especially since I lost on the stream. Oh no, oh no. So we go into day 2, and this is where the nightmare started. I slept poorly that night because, like an idiot, I took a nap right after day 1 since I was so wiped out. This led to me not falling asleep until very, very late, to the point that I was almost late for my 10 AM bracket. My wife couldn't be with me that day because she had to work, but luckily, some local guys I used to play with came to support me. Round 1 goes easy enough. My opponent seemed to have had a very easy side of his pool, and I took the set pretty easily. My second, let's call him King, since that's the character that he played, was a whole different beast. Yeah, wasn't King the wrestler dude with the leopard face? Yeah, I used to love him. He was pretty cool. King walked up talking to his buddy like he had this one in the bag. He had watched my match in the prior round and, I guessed, assumed he had me figured out. He locks in King, throws on his headphones, and when I go to shake his hand, he just scoffs and goes back to pressing buttons on his fight stick. Now, a little added context, my main, Lars Alexanderson, is known as a knowledge check character. Basically, if you haven't studied the matchup, you're going to have a hard time fighting against him. At this point, it's a good time to take a sip of tea. Dude, I love this. I love hobby nightmares that are about different aspects of the hobby. Excellent. Anyway, instantly, off the bat, he is beating my head in. He was grabbing me and just tossing me across the screen like nobody's business. The first 2 rounds of Game 1 were brutal, but I adapted. By the end of Game 1, I had kept it close, but he still took the game. Now, another bit of context in Tekken, at the time, coaching was allowed in tournaments as long as it was kept under a certain amount of time, and while I was actually against coaching, if it's legal, I'm going to use it. So my buddy, who I asked to coach me, comes up and says, he isn't blocking lows very well, try and hit them with more. Alright? And sure as shit, it worked like a charm. But man, did it not stop King from groaning and moaning. He was wearing his headset and didn't realise I could hear him sounding like a child. After game 2, this guy looks at me while I just adjust my setup and is staring daggers. I have never seen this level of hatred over a video game before. He slams his fist against his controller, locks in for the next game, and we go again. He actually makes it really close, just like game 1. It comes down to 2 rounds apiece with a final round 5 situation. It's neck on neck until he drops a crucial combo and I land a counter hit low, which lets me combo him to the wall to end the game. But that's when the big blow up happens. Oh no. He hops up and yells, "That's fucking bullshit!" Then goes and starts yelling at his friend, loudly saying that I cheated him. He spikes his controller, then storms off over to the tournament organiser, running our bracket whilst I'm getting my match submitted. He starts complaining about everything he could think of, anything that could excuse his mistakes. I tried my hardest to avoid the guy because his meltdown was shocking to say the least. I lost my next round, but hung around the venue for a little while and watched the finals the next day. It really was an amazing weekend, but that little nightmare definitely showed me a different side of the community and what I never expected to see. Anyway, if you read this, thank you for all you do for men's mental health and the hobby community. Cheers. No worries, Liam. Cheers, man. That was really, really cool. And again, I do love having, other views, on different hobbies. That was brilliant. Really is refreshing to read these ones. And I love your models too. So well done to you, sir. And well done for having a strong, good taste in models. I would say that too. Invest in some inks and thin down your paints. But apart from that, really nicely painted stuff. I really like what you've done with these. Excellent. Moving on, we are going to our second hobby nightmare of the day, and this is from Simon. And he says, this is from, Grandmaster Simon of Cardiff. There we go. So we know where Simon's from. He's a Welshman from the Valleys. Anyway, he says, Dear North, please call me Simon, as it's my name. No worries, man. I hope you are well, sir. Forgive me for not sending this in earlier. It's taken me a while to get my head around the situation and put it into words. This is a case of a player, myself, getting into it with a Games Workshop manager. I am not sure if what this manager is doing is just honest ribbing and joking around, or whether I actually have a grievance here. I guess I should do some background here, so, here goes. I got into the hobby in 2015, and I've been steadily falling in and out of love with Warhammer ever since. My first love, which has remained, was my Grey Knights. It's Grey Knights Day, very nice. I love the aesthetics of knights in space. You've mentioned it a few times in your videos. I mean, sure, the Dark Angels do a similar thing, but they don't actively fight demons. One of the most badass lines I've ever heard was in the Chaos Gate game, where a Grey Knight captain dies, and when somebody asks what happened to him, another Grey Knight says, and I quote, "He died as we all wish to, blade upon blade with the foulest of blasphemies," unquote. That is metal. That is 40k. That is Grey Knights. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So you could say I'm a bit of a fanboy for my faction. I don't think the Grey Knights get the spotlight they deserve, and that their books are sparing in showing what the Grey Knights actually get up to. I honestly think the only books that give you a real look at what an army does and how it acts are the Night Lord's books, as a part of that trilogy. The others in the Black Library are so stuck up and full of pretentious philosophical musings that the message of the core book, an army of super soldiers doing cool shit in interesting ways and dying horribly at times, is lost. Yeah, dude, I agree with that. I gotta say, some books less than others. There are some books that are far better than others in terms of, actually, being a cool look at what Space Marines do. But I do get it. Like, there are certain books in the Horus Heresy, especially, and other books besides, where the author seems to want to talk about, philosophy and how rulership works and class systems. And oh my god, dude, shut up! You're writing a book about space soldiers. Just do that. Show us what this army does. I think a lot of Black Library authors, they tend to just forget what they're writing about. You're writing about plastic soldiers, right? And so your main aim as a Black Library writer is to show us why this army is cool, what it does, and to explore its inner themes in your story. If you're using your 40k novel to explore themes about classism and, racism and any sort of other things that's out there, or even philosophical musings, any Black Library book that starts with a pretentious quote from Shakespeare as its foreword just loses me almost immediately. I'm like, yeah, this guy's smelling his own farts. Right, okay. That kind of a thing. So I'm with you on that one. Carrying on. Even awesome books like The First Heretic are dragged down by this. It's like the writer is begrudging of putting cool stuff involving Space Marines into his novel because he wants to talk about philosophy and religion some more. And those two examples, Night Lords and First Heretic, are from the same author, by God. Yeah, they are. Anyway, I need to get back to the point. I love Grey Knights. This is a known thing among my friends, and when I moved to a new city last summer, I was ready to dive into the local scene. Unfortunately, normal hobby stores are at a bit of a premium here, and so I ended up heading to the local Games Workshop. The atmosphere there was fine in general, and the manager, Shock Horror, allowed me to play some games in his store. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, that's what you want, innit? That's what you want. They all had to be at 1,000 points or below, and you had to book the table to play on, but in general, it was fine. This was a smaller store, so I guess he flew under the radar of the gaming ban here in the UK. He had been asked about it in the past and confirmed that because he's been at the company for so long, the store sells models at the right rates, and he is in a smaller store, the HQ generally don't give a shit about what he does as long as the money keeps coming in. He's one of the old guard, but as you'll see, being in the cool kids club often means you're a bit of a dickwad, especially if you call it something like that, which he did. Let's call him Jim. Dude, I'm sorry, right? Right, so if you're in a position of power, or you're in a position where people look up to you, and you call your group of friends the Cool Kids Club or something similar, I agree with Simon. You're a bit of a dickwad. like that's. I like the name dickwad too. Yeah, you're a bit. You don't even deserve a proper insult. You're no threat to anybody, my friend. Anyway, moving on. Jim had what I like to call low-key arrogance. It's there, you can see it, but he rarely lets it out completely. Dude, I've met people like this. Yeah, I've met... Have any of you guys ever met somebody in person, or even online, because you can tell by their voice too sometimes, and you kind of like... They just rub you up the wrong way. Not in a gives me the creepy crawlies or anything, but in a way that makes you go, you're a bit of a dick. And other people don't know it, but I can see it, Like, there's something about the way they say certain things, or the way they look at you, or the way they carry themselves, that just makes you think you're a bit of a dick. But everybody else tends to like them, and you don't know why, And this always happens. Eventually, these people misbehave in a way that's really cringy, and you're the one who has to say, I fucking told you so. I told you, right? I told you. Like, put it this way. Does anybody remember a band called the Lost Prophets? Right? Alright. Well, that band broke up because their shall we say, lead singer did very, very sickening things regarding people who were underage, let's just say. Way underage. I'm talking, very underage. Anyway, I always hated Lost Prophets and thought they were a bunch of idiots and that their lead singer, the band behind him was alright, but the lead singer I always found absolutely insufferable, right? And I always said, but this is back in the day when I was dating a lot of emo girls, and I'd always tell them, I don't like that band, I don't like that guy, he just creeps me out, I think he's an arsehole. Just by looking at him, he looks so arrogant and up himself, and there's something about him I don't like. And they would always tell me, he's really cute, you're just jealous. Right? Fair enough, no problem. I was 16, 17 at the time, so I just shrugged it off, whatever. But I just don't like them. Okay? Only for that to come out years later, and for me to, I didn't contact anybody, but I just sat there nodding along going, yep, called it. Right? You have that. It doesn't always mean they're the worst of the worst, like this guy was, but, you just have that feeling about somebody. You're like, I don't like you, mate. I've said this before about my mate John, when we were up in Durham having a few pints. And there was this guy called Harry, right? And Harry was a fucking asshole, right? And only I seemed to see it, right? I just didn't get this guy at all. Bit of a posh knob, bit of an idiot. Everybody liked him. I was not his biggest fan, right? But I never let him know that. I wasn't an asshole to him. I was never nasty to him, and I would always be polite and no problem. Anyway, me and my friend John, who is a guy of similar stature to me, but with a beard, and he was in his 40s at the time, so he's a big lad. We're walking through town, and we're trying to get to a certain club. Right, we're trying to get to a certain club that it's a rock place, and we're trying to find it. And I wasn't much for going out at this point, so it's the first time I've been out in quite a while. And we see Harry and a few of his friends walking past. And they go, oh, you're right, mate. Oh, yeah. And we make small talk. And Harry's being his usual, pseudo passive-aggressive, arrogant self. And nobody else seems to see it, apart from John, right? So John, he goes, all right, mate, my name's Harry. He goes up to shake his hand, and my friend John shakes his hand, and he's never met this guy before. He looks at him, shakes his hand, and goes, I don't like you, mate. Something about you, mate. I don't like you. Something about you. Sorry. That was it. Right? Now, he's got a much deeper voice than I do. He's from down south, but that's what he said to him. And Harry is gobsmacked and gets in John's face because he's had a few drinks. It doesn't go any further because John would turn this guy into a fucking pretzel. So you just go, all right, lad, see you later, and we go on our way. And I said to him, like I told you, I didn't prep John at all. I didn't say anything about that kind of thing. I just let him meet him on his own terms, and he did. He's don't like you, mate, straight away. But even a backwards lift. So there we are. I don't know if you've ever had that. Somebody's given you that impression. I bet you all have at some point, but I think that's what's happening here. Is Jim is kind of freaking out Simon here? Is what I'm getting to. Jim had what I like to call low-key arrogance. It's there, you can see it, but he rarely lets it out completely. His demeanour will change into being "I am the boss" whenever a woman comes into his store. This is an attempt to either impress her or get her to show off, or get her. What? Sorry. This is an attempt to either impress her or to get her or to show off to his cronies in the store. Okay. Of which he has many. They laugh at his jokes and generally back up every one of his points. They all collect Space Marines, and Jim, the leader of the posse, as he is the manager of the store, of course, collects Space Wolves. The cronies group collect mainly Crimson Fists, Ultramarines, and more generic Space Marines of many flavours. This is kind of important because the first time I booked a table for me and my friend who is visiting me, James, he turned up with an amazing looking Tzeentch Demons list, all vibrant colours, and 2 Lords of Change to bookend the madness. I got out my Grey Knights, my best work. Although they are back home at the moment, I'm writing this while waiting for my plane home. They glistened in silver and looked like badass knights ready to throw down. I had spent a lot of money combining them with the Leviathan box set, 2 of them, to create Primaris-sized Grey Knights. They were imposing and were a hell of a psych-out army. I've only felt a similar level of intimidation from opponents when playing Imperial Knights. Our armies drew derisive looks from the cronies who were upset that we were playing on their table, quote-unquote. Have any of you guys ever had an army that either you have or somebody brings out and the intimidation factor just goes up straight away? I don't know. I can't wait to play my Primaris Grey Knights now. It's going to be awesome. Chill out, guys, Jim said. We have to let the smaller factions get some sunshine once in a while. Even if wolf fodder like these Grey Knights are on my table, he said, winking at me. Now, the way I write it does not sound as bad as it did on the day. He did it with the smarmiest delivery ever. Well, good for you, Simon, is that you're dealing with an experienced hobby nightmare reader-outer today, and I was able to put that voice on before I even knew he was that smarmy. Because you can kind of see it coming, right? You know, who says, right, we have to let the smaller factions get some sunshine once in a while, even wolf fodder like these Grey Knights, unquote. What the hell? To a new customer. This was not joking, not in my opinion. It was bad-natured mockery, and I know the difference. I can take a joke, I can give it as well as I can take it, so I just chuckled and said, fair enough mate, no problem. And we got on with the game. What followed was the most petulant... Dude, I'm telling you now, you not responding is going to rile this guy's jammies. Okay, if this is bully behaviour, it's going to rile his jammies and he's going to keep prodding you till he gets a reaction. If it's not, and he was just being good-natured, then he'll leave you alone now, and will actually, show some interest in your game and be a nice guy about it, you know? So, I chuckled and said, fair enough, man, and we got on with the game. What followed was the most petulant thing I've ever seen an adult do. Something about my response clearly irked Jim, who took it upon himself to walk behind me and whisper things like, the months of shame, you got your shit pushed in. Well, dude, that's a sackable offence straight away. He's swearing at customers. You could literally go to head office with that, like he's swearing at customers. Sackable offence. Or at least, a very, very, very stern warning. Or, space wizards are my pedigree chum. Huh. Honestly, I think he thought he was being relatable and funny, but he did it every 5 to 10 minutes. And these are just the 2 insults I remember. Again, it's not what he said, it was how he was saying it. This guy did not like my army choice or my response to his earlier attempt to ruffle my feathers. The line was kind of crossed when every bad roll I did was celebrated by him, and eventually he ordered his cronies to watch our game and inform him of any ones the Grey Knights rolled so he could, and I quote, thank the dice gods, unquote. This was getting a little much. At the top of turn 4, with me and James having hardly spoken to each other through awkwardness, we called the game with the Grey Knights winning handily at that point. James told me later he was actually cheering me on inside and making bad plays on purpose so as not to give these idiots any joy. Dude, that is a friend. That is a brother in arms right there. That is a brother in arms right there. Like, he throws the game because he knows if he doesn't and he ends up winning, you're going to get it in the neck more for no reason. This is a good friend. But we were still relieved that the dice gods were not choosing to shit on me like they usually did. When we got to the till, I wanted to pick up a white dwarf, and this guy's attitude was not going to deprive me of that. Jim told me, and I quote, listen, the table has been booked out for the next few weeks, sorry, so you'll have to book your next game sometime next month. Towards the end of next month, unquote. Oh, don't worry, I said, backing my white dwarf. I won't be playing here again. Cheers, dude. Jim said nothing, and we both walked out. The thing is, I actually like being in the store and around the other dudes who hang around in there that aren't his cronies. So what do I do about this moron? Apparently, after asking around, he's been known to do this, as if you don't respond well to his first attempts at awkward jokes and ribbing, he generally becomes more and more passive-aggressive towards you. It's actually driven people off before. He has had standing arguments in the store about law, especially if somebody dares to contradict his views that everybody should just collect and play Space Wolves or, at a push, Space Bears. So, do I just call the store a loss? What do I do? Thanks, North, for all you do. Simon. Alright. Dude, it depends how desperate you are to, speak to these other dudes in the store. Because this is... I honestly wouldn't be around this place. I just leave it alone. If you've got other places to play and other places to be, I would leave it alone, man. I wouldn't be there at all. It wouldn't be the kind of thing I'd want to be doing if it was me. I absolutely wouldn't. I honestly call it a loss. Like, not going to a Games Workshop store is not a big sacrifice, you know. Clearly that Games Workshop store has its crowd there that isn't very good. Clearly that manager is not going anywhere. So if I was you, dude, just find somewhere else to play. Or I would invest in some scenery. Go to your friend, go to euromats.com or wherever else you can get really cool gaming mats. Get some cool scenery between yourselves and form your own little group, form your own little posse of 2, and move on from there. It's clearly all you want to do anyway, so just do that. That's what I would do if I was you. Losing a hobby store that's really good is more of an issue than losing a Games Workshop store with a bad manager. So I'd write it off as a loss. Maybe invite some of the guys. Once you've gotten your scenery, your mat, and things like that, maybe invite some of the guys from the store to come and play with you, and you'll probably find a lot of them are looking for an excuse to do something else somewhere else. So, you'll always be surprised doing that, trust me. So try that, see how it goes, and let me know how it goes in the comment section of the next video, or even email me. All right. I will speak to you all tomorrow for some more 40k rantage. I have a few topics I could cover tomorrow, just a few. I'm thinking that tomorrow we're actually going to cover... What did I say we were going to do tomorrow? Yeah, it was balance is not needed in Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to expand on that point. I've said it in a few Hobby Nightmares and other videos before. I've touched on the point, but I think it's now time this year to expand on certain opinions that I've spouted over the past that people have either disagreed with or maybe agreed with or has caused some discussion. Anyway, so I'll be doing that tomorrow. I love you all a long time. I'll speak to you very, very, very soon. Have a good one, alright? Bye now.